Sanhua has value equivalent to that of a 5-star character in my opinion, even to this day, so today I thought it'd be fun to evaluate her current meta position. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. Let's kick things right off with Sanhua's kit feel and how she feels to play in her best installed teams. She's able to work in countless comps due to her insane versatility, but I'm namely going to focus on her 2 best teams, those being Camellia and Encore comps. We'll start off with everybody's favorite Crazy Lady, since she's beloved by all. To say that these teams are easy to play would be a massive understatement, because holy guacamole, you require next to no effort in order to play this team effectively. Camellia as a main DPS is already as casual friendly as it gets. You don't require much skill to get her off the ground running. She also primarily deals in basic attacks as a major source of her overall damage output. So introducing none other than Sanhua, the 4-star that has been making waves in the meta ever since her release. Dare I even say that those waves have been wuthering? Hilarious, I know. Anyways, the bodyguard of Jinzhou's Magistrate is ridiculously powerful here for a multitude of reasons. For starters, all that basic percent in her outro skill is very appreciated by the Crazy Lady. It's an absolutely huge amount of basic amp. Something that I'd like to point out about Sanhua in comparison to other characters like Taoqi and Jianxin is that while all of these units feature excellent buffing capabilities, the bodyguard easily features the highest value among them. This is because one of the key features that makes this unit so good is her quick concerto rotation, whereas the other 2 have longer ones. Which, to be fair, can be negated via certain tactics, but still end up being a lot slower than the lightning quick speed of Sanhua's. Part of what makes being able to access it so quickly such a good quality is that field time is an extremely precious resource in Wuthering Waves teams. The faster that you're able to transfer buffs to your main DPS and get them going, the better that your team is going to perform on the whole. Sanhua offers so much in such a short span of time, which allows her to be a really good tool for Camellia. She can grant her buffs almost immediately, offering very smooth rotations. Not to mention how casual friendly she is, meaning that the Camellia-Sanhua duo is easily one of the most simple teams that you can play, which is fantastic when you consider how powerful this combo is. She feels so good in this team, it's insane. Camellia reference? Anyways, you get the idea. She's practically budding with potential here. This isn't even touching on the fact that you can do all of this down to level 20. You can invest nothing into her and get this excellent level of performance. However, because this character is a gift that keeps on giving, if you choose to build her up so that she can deal decent personal numbers, she'll actually contribute a good amount of damage. Things just keep getting better and better with this character. I haven't even touched on the fact that her S6 offers a 20% attack buff. Yet, even the free copy that you get down at S0 is still something else. I'd like to discuss Encore a bit too, because she's a really strong DPS character that utilizes Sanhua wonderfully. The pros are generally the same. Lovely basic percent buffing matters a lot for the Pink Sheep Kid. Dump all of the bodyguard's other positive qualities on top, and you've got yourself an absolute monster of a synergy. This means that she has 2 really high value synergies that you could realistically be taking advantage of. That's something that I personally value a lot in a character. For example, I value Jojo a lot because she works with 2 of this game's top DPSs, those being Jinchi and the esteemed Carlotta. Having valuable synergies like that means that you have some real solid standing in the meta. With that being said, I think it's fair to say that Sanhua's kit feel is nothing short of amazing. She shines brilliantly in her best installed teams, feeling comfortable and intuitive to use. However, it'd be wrong of me to brush over the fact that she can be slotted into nearly every team in the game. She certainly won't be best installed everywhere, but because her Concerto generation is so quick and her S6 is such a universal buff, she works as a free-to-play friendly option essentially everywhere. For example, no Jojo for your Carlotta? Instead, consider using Sanhua. I mean, or Yang Yang too, but you get the point. Even if she is not specialized in certain teams, she will still function well as a universal second slot teammate. This means that no matter what your account looks like, you'll be able to discover a viable use case for her. That's all fine and dandy, but she's a 4-star character. We may indeed get a copy of her for free, but is she really as good as I say, even when you've only got a single copy of the character? Let's discuss that here now by taking a look at her sequences together. Extra crit rate is pretty cool if you care about the personal damage that she deals, but of course, this is by no means necessary. It's a nice bonus more than anything else. Letting you cast her heavy sooner only speeds up this already lightning quick character in terms of her Concerto rotation. It's already incredibly good at S0, but this only continues to double down on the brilliant playability of this character. The interruption res is appreciated as well. More damage is nice, considering that her sub DPS output isn't bad at all. If you want to level her up and invest into your stats, then this S3 is pretty good. At this stage, I think it'd be a bit of a waste to keep your Sanhua down at level 20. These are all quite significant damage boosts that add up very nicely, with this S4 only furthering the build her well agenda. More damage on that heavy attack of hers is super well appreciated. The additional energy gen is excellent too, helping out with rotation smoothness. Again, Kuro really dumped a whole bunch of power budget into this 4-star, huh? No wonder that she's the bodyguard of Jinzhou's very own Sentinel Resonator. More free stats literally cannot be a bad thing. A 100% increase to crit damage is massive, no matter what way you steer it. Certainly well worth your time, but not a necessity, as she'll still function very well mechanically without this. Still, definitely get her a neat set of echoes and leveled up nicely if you can at this stage. 20% attack is wow. So not only do they bathe this unit in positive qualities, all of which lend her to being one of the most flexible and powerful 4-star characters in all of Wuthering Waves, but they decide to expand her buffing profile with one of the most universally acclaimed buffs available. This is partially what helps Sanhua be good for such a wide variety of teams. All of the best viable DPSs in the game as of now are attack scaling, which means that she, at a baseline, can work with all of them, even if they don't care for the huge amount of basic percent buffing within her outro skill. Now that's power. Great S6. In my opinion, she works perfectly well down at S0. If there's something that Kuro is really good at doing in my opinion, it's making sure that 4-star characters still feel complete and competent, even down at S0, which is something that I really appreciate, especially when you consider that Sanhua is permanently free, meaning that everybody is going to have at least a single copy of her at minimum. However, I'd like to highlight that I'm praising their high practicality, even when you only own S0, because the sequences are undeniably really good upgrades for the character. No, S6 is not needed. Just like how S6 on your Mortefi is not required in order for him to be Gion's best install teammate. Even if max sequences is busted, S0 is still really good. It's the same case of Sanhua. She'll still be a monster in Encore and Camellia teams without any additional copies to her name. With that being said, S6 is literally huge for her, and I won't pretend that it's not. It does so much for her effective flexibility as a character, it's insane. S2 and S4 are quite nice for her playstyle smoothness too, but even when you only have a singular copy to work with, you'll be more than good to go. Alright, that's all fine and dandy, but what was Sanhua's meta history like? How has she aged over time? Well, when the game first came out, she was already quite a formidable character. It took some time for people to come around to the idea of Encore being a busted DPS, but once folks figured this out, Sanhua was really able to come into the limelight. Even before then, people were able to really appreciate how versatile this character was. She stood out a lot among the small roster of characters that we had at the time, and her relevancy only rose as the days went on. She was never the immediate center of attention, especially because people were more interested in characters such as Gion, Virgil Roth, and Yinlin as opposed to Encore, but any fan of the Sheep Kid was quick to pick up on the sheer prowess of the Magistrate's bodyguard. I myself underestimated Sanhua due to free character syndrome. I'm used to free units in these types of games being pretty bad, and Chishia didn't exactly set a good precedent. However, Chishia was the only real dud, as every other free 4-star character that Wuthering Waves has given out has been pretty darn good. Yuan Wu for free-to-play Jinchi teams, Yang Yang's an excellent generalist, and then you have none other than Sanhua herself, who in my opinion, stands as the highest value Wuthering Waves free 4-star for sure. Certainly no questions asked. She remained this way pretty much throughout the entirety of a 1.x patch cycle, a powerful versatile pick that was best in slot for one particularly great DPS, while being a great flex slot for every other team in the game, even if she was never the objectively best option. She did face competition in the form of Chang Li, a character who was shaping up to have lovely synergy with Encore. However, as much as I absolutely adore the Phoenix Lady, she's extremely casual and friendly, and demands a ridiculously high amount of player skill in order to be useful. So Sanhua remained as being the general best in slot, as Changcore requires a ridiculous amount of effort to effectively execute. She's shown herself to be reliable time and time again. However, she really came into the limelight upon crazy Camellia's release. That insane woman totally thrust her up into the limelight, because basically everyone and their mother pulled for the Red Flower Woman. Sanhua was her definitive best in slot partner throughout her release banner period, no questions asked. Your main other option would have been Donjin, acting as a driver of sorts via her Havoc damage buffing. Otherwise, it was free Huanglong estate for Sanhua, man. Cut to current day. She faces competition in Camellia teams in the form of Roshia. However, if the Clown Kid is down at S0, then it's not really a competition at all, because the two of them tend to do about equally in these teams. Roshia's buffs seem better on paper, because they are actually quite high value. Also, her personal damage is not bad at all, not to mention the grouping that she can provide, so the Clown Kid definitely has some merit. Yet, even so, it's very hard to justify spending so many limited pulls on a unit that doesn't really do all that much better than a free 4-star. Plus, if you have S6 Sanhua, then the gap closes even more. Roshia is certainly no Joja, that much is for sure. You can really see the influence of Sanhua's value here. Kuro accidentally made her too strong. Roshia would have been such a good unit if she simply didn't exist, or if a bodyguard's Conchetta rotation was longer by any significant amount. But as it stands, yep, Sanhua is still alive and kicking. In fact, one of the best things about pulling for the Clown Kid is that you get to free up the Magistrate's main company for other teams. Now granted, if you get S1 plus Roshia, then it's so Sanhua over, because then she does indeed become better than her for Camellia. But that ends up feeling like a waste of astrites, because you'd rather reinvest those into more copies of the Crazy Lady, especially because she has one of the best sequence lineups in the entire game. Like, shoot man, an S2 Camellia makes this game unthinkably easy. Otherwise, she sees minimal competition in Encore teams. Same as before, only Changli, who is better utilized in Changli Yao teams anyways, due to how that guy is able to incorporate quick swapping into his rotations quite nicely. And now for what we've all been waiting for. Where do I personally think that Sanhua stands in the current meta? Well, I would say that she's an S-tier character with value equivalent to that of limited 5 stars. I mean, shoot, considering that Roshia exists, that statement isn't even all that bold, because it's arguably true, depending on how comparable you believe the two characters to be. I find it crazy how good she is. Don't sleep on her. If you don't want to build her for damage, you don't have to. Leave her at level 20 and give her a spin as is to see if you're impressed with what she can do for you. Haha, give her a spin? You know what else will be spinning? Anyways. Kuro Games really appreciated her important job in Jinzhou, so they decided to give her a kit that matched her level of importance in the city. Nothing but respect for what this character does, man. I have nothing but respect. As for whether she'll be power crept in the future, well, in one of her teams, she debatably has been. I know that I undersell Roshi a lot, and I have a more negative opinion on her than most, and that's mostly because I do find her to be very underwhelming relative to the cost it takes to acquire her, and she can even end up being worse than Sanhua and Camellia teams, depending on the scenario. But with that being said, all you need is S1 or more, then you're good to go. However, I'd say the true value of her lies in the fact that she's a free-to-play friendly, casual-friendly unit that can work anywhere that you want her to. She's an every woman, so she can seriously help you out when your roster isn't all too diverse. She negates the need for an expensive luxury pull such as Roshia, she will help you clear whether you pour a lot of resources into her or not, and she provides so much as just one character. Damage potential, excellent basic percent buffing, attack percent buffing, it's all there! She's free at the end of the day, and we all have her. If you haven't tried her yet, then give her a go. I see no harm in doing so, especially when you consider how little she needs in order to operate at a baseline level. Spread the Sanhua love, so that everybody gets to have a piece of this insanely powerful unit. Praise be to Jinchi for initially taking her in. It's no wonder that she ended up being S tier. She was trained by the greatest. There are almost no flaws to this character, it's ridiculous. There is no limit to the glaze, my friends. Sanhua is nothing short of an incredible unit. Competing with 5 stars in terms of value is nuts. I think that even if you don't agree with her being an S tier, you could at least agree that she's a high A tier character. She's a useful addition to any account, and I can't see that changing anytime soon. The disappointment that was Roshia had got me thinking about the Magistrate's Bodyguard again, which is what led to the birth of this video. I highly suggest that you screw around with Sanhua, because she's as strong as it gets in terms of 4-star characters, regardless of the level of investment that we're talking about. But what do you think about this unit? Am I glazing her a little too hard, or do you agree that she's an absolute meta legend? Let me know down below, I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, I have a ZZZ second channel. Head on over and subscribe if you're interested in some fun, silly ZZZ content. I'd also like to mention that I stream on Twitch. I stream once a week, every week on Saturdays, starting from 3 PM UK time. Come along so that we can play Wuthering Waves, ZZZ, and do some other fun stuff together. Hopefully this video was able to update you on Sanhua's current position in the Wuthering Waves meta. This has been Juice, signing out. And remember that a Sanhua a day keeps the TOA enemies away.